not our presentation.
I'm still on, right? So hi guys. I don't know if I've even been recording this whole time. Wow. We may have to do a double take here probably within the next 15-20 minutes. But anyway, as I mentioned, I'm Raul Smith. I am going to be doing the site build for the closing tag website. I am on my Facebook now, which is really weird. So yeah, this has been a disaster right from the get-go. So let's see here. So we're going back to this, and basically what I'm doing, I don't know how much of what I've been saying is actually gotten onto the actual stream. I may have to do some editing here, but anyway, so we're going to be working on a website for the closing tag. And what I usually do with my clients is I usually go over, okay, what is the purpose of the website and what all do we plan on having on the website? So is the website going to be for informational purposes? Is it going to be for e-commerce? Is it going to be for a database? And with the closing tag, it's going to be a little bit of all of the above, but very light on the e-commerce side. It's going to be more heavy on the database and informational side. What I mean by that is simple. With the database, we're basically going to house all of the archives, all of the audio archives for the Closing Tag podcast. One thing I've noticed with my particular podcast provider, I guess you could say, is that after a certain while, the audio archive is removed from the RSS feed and then henceforth removed from Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, Apple, all of them. So what I want to do is kind of build my own, not really my own RSS feed, but my own archive, so that it's able to have a copy of all the audio episodes of the Closing Tag podcast in one spot. The e-commerce side, like I said, is going to be a little bit light. It's just going to be a simple PayPal portal. If you want to make donations, awesome. You know, nobody's under any obligation to donate to our podcast. We are potentially going to be looking into Patreon, so it could be a housing for a potential Patreon page. But 90% of it is going to be informational. It's going to be information on upcoming episodes and interviews. It's going to be links to all the various providers, to Facebook, to YouTube, to Discord, all of it. The pages that are planned for the site, kind of what I got caught in the middle of doing just a few moments ago before I had to double back, is it's going to have a home page or landing page. Some call it a home page, some call it a landing page. I'm just going to call it both, just to save confusion. It's going to have a schedule for the upcoming events and episodes, as well as interview series information, both for the past and future. It's going to have the PayPal donation button, and the home landing page is going to have the links for the podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Discord. So for that, the resources that I would need, and again, kind of going back to what I've been saying before, is after I have every page mapped out and all the purposes for those individual pages, I'm then going to go in to the client and say, okay, here's what I need for each individual item. Here's what I need for each page. As far as credentials, content, images, whatever. So in this case, for the home landing page, I'm going to need the schedule for all the upcoming episodes. I'm going to need the PayPal link credentials, which I'll have to get directly from PayPal. And I'll have to get the links directly from the sources of Facebook, YouTube, Discord, as well as Apple Podcasts, Google, or not Google, Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Contact page is going to be pretty simple. I'm just going to need the form so you can contact me directly. So I'll use a form component. And I would need the email information. So, or the contact page would have the email information on the page. So it would be so-and-so at closingtagpod.com, which by the way is not going to be the official URL. I don't have any track yet on what the official URL is going to be. I'm going to figure that out as we're going along. That's probably going to be either tomorrow or next Monday when I decide that. Privacy policy page is going to have just some legal information about privacy on our site, what is and is not being used or being done with the information that we collect on our site. So if someone comes back and say, hey, I feel like my privacy's been violated, can you show me a copy of your privacy policy? Bam, there you go. The archives page is going to have all of the audio and video archives of the Closing Tag podcast, which will also require a YouTube plugin, which will pull all of the archive video directly from the YouTube page. So for that, I would need all of the audio files, which I happen to have stored on my local machine. I would also need the YouTube login credentials for the Closing Tag page, as well as the plugin component. For the About page, I would just simply need information about the podcast. So what is the Closing Tag podcast? What do we talk about on the podcast, that sort of thing. And then information about the host, namely me. So I would need content about both the podcast and about the host. So just some content like, hey, this is Raul Smith, host of the Closing Tag podcast, and here's some information about me. And then, of course, there would be an image of me. And then also a logo of the Closing Tag, which would be used for the header and the footer, which is where you kind of caught me at, right here. So this is what's called a framework of a website, or wireframe. Some people call it a wireframe. And what this helps me do is it helps me kind of pinpoint what all I need for design-wise for each individual element. So for right now, we have the logo right here. And then we have a menu right here of home, about, archives, and contact. This is a header. This is basically going to be what's called a sticky header. So the page could have a gigantic amount of content, but theoretically the header would still stay at the top of the page regardless of where you're scrolling. This has both benefits and drawbacks. The footer would just simply have the long form version of the logo, so it'd be the Closing Tag, boom, done. And there would be copyright 2021. I mentioned in a previous episode of the podcast, there's a way to update this automatically. I'm going to institute that. You're going to see me institute that as we're building this site out. And then a link to the privacy page will be right here. This is going to be the home page wireframe, and this is going to be the inside page wireframe. So for the home page, we're going to have basically like a scrolling thing right here, and I don't know why my thing reverted back to a black square, but we're going to switch that up right now. Thank you. And basically, this is going to be kind of like a scrolling header. So it's like, here. Look for an episode to drop this week, June 20th. And then it would have like some other announcement like, don't forget to check out our good buddies over at the Across the Pond Sports Podcast, or check out our interview that's coming up soon with so-and-so. That's going to be that. And then we're going to have, let's switch that up before I draw any more big black boxes. This would be the schedule right here. So this would have coming up podcast episode 12. And then we would have like some basic information on what that episode will entail. So am I going to be talking sports on that one? Am I going to be talking about React? Am I going to be talking about any other number of topics? That's basically what's going to be laid out there. And then also we would have interview with so-and-so. And it would basically be like a detail of who this person is, why we feel it's going to be a really fun interview, etc. And then maybe, because one thing I also want to do is I also want to try and institute Twitch a little bit more. So maybe an upcoming Twitch episode. That can then be turned into something for the video archive. And we'll have like details of what that Twitch episode would entail. Then we'd have the PayPal donation button here. And yes, I did intentionally leave that alone for this very reason. We want to basically, really? No, stop. Stop. No, I want to make the text white, not the button. Thank you. And it's still not really doing what I wanted to do, but that's okay because then I can do this. Click me to donate. And that's basically what the home page is going to be. Then I'm going to go to this page right here. And again, this is all framework. This is not the actual design of the website. We're going to get into that next week. So we want to go ahead and put in like a sidebar of sorts on the inside pages so it's not as feeling empty basically. And this sidebar is going to have information about audio archives. So the idea is to have the audio archives not just on this page, but have, within reason, the audio archives on every page in terms of the like clips. So if you want to just hear me talk about, you know, how I feel about Donald Trump, you can go back to the episode where I talked about that. If you want to hear me talk about just React, you can go back to the archive and hear me talk about that. Or about the Jazz, or about Kyrie Irving, or about any number of topics I've already talked about. They'll all be listed right here. And then your page content, depending on what page you're on, will go right here in this big gigantic spot. So your privacy page, your about page, your contact form, the archives, what have you, will go right here. Now, with the mobile, it's going to be a little bit different because the content layout is not going to change based on are you on the home page or are you on the inside page. It's going to stay the same regardless. So let's switch things up here a little bit. Hopefully you're going to be able to see on the screen here. So right now we got our header. I'm going to put the logo right here. Now I have not yet decided if we're doing a sticky header on mobile. And that's only because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, mobile sticky headers are a little bit wonky and can be a bit tricky. So we're just going to kind of maybe leave that alone for now. And then we're going to do what's called a hamburger menu. And I'll tell you what that is supposed to be like here in a second. And again, don't mind it being just black and white. Everything is going to be in full living color probably before you know it. So what a hamburger menu is, you've probably seen this on mobile apps before. What this menu does is it alerts the user, namely the person using this website or mobile app, to click on this or press on this, and a menu should pop up right away. So this is where you're going to have your about and archives and contact and privacy. Yes, privacy is going to go in here rather than in a footer. I'll tell you why here in a bit. This is going to extend all, no, don't do that. It's going to extend all the way down to the bottom of the screen, so it will fill the screen regardless of what screen size you're on. So if you're on an iPhone, if you're on Android, if you're on a, heaven forbid, BlackBerry or Microsoft phone, it'll stay the same size regardless. Now, as I'm doing this, let me alert you, the reason why you want, nope, bloody hell. Unselect that. That'll work. That's perfect. Boom, done. So the reason why you want a full-on menu as opposed to a header and a footer is the menu is going to house all of your information. It's going to house all the links, copyright, logo, the whole bit. You're not going to want that space on the bottom of the page taking up real estate that would normally go to additional information. So we're going to go home, actually, about, if I can type, that's fantastic. Archives, contact, privacy, and then from there, you're going to want your copyright 2021, 2022, whatever, and maybe logo right here. Pretty simple, straightforward stuff, right? At least I think so anyway. So we've spent a great deal of time talking about, well, okay, I spent a great deal of time talking about, you know, what the planning and mapping is going to be for this particular project, you know, what the framework's going to look like and so forth. Unfortunately, you did not get a chance to hear me talk too much because I was muted half the episode, I think. But tomorrow we're probably going to dive right into what we call the dev environment or test environment setup. And what that helps me as a developer do is it allows me to then have all the stuff that I need to test and build the website locally, so then I can then push it up to the web. That was my phone. So I can then push it up to the web once everything has been tested, everything works, everything's good to go. So I want to thank you guys for sticking with me through all the technical issues. Yeah, that was fun. Again, closing tag is going to be off for the next week or so because basically ran out of the allotted amount of time that I'm able to have hosted up on in 1 month. So we'll have to wait a little bit. I am in negotiations on who my next interview is going to be. And in the meantime, you're more than welcome to hit me up on Facebook, either at GALACTICblue or at the closing tag, depending on which one's easiest for you to find. The GALACTICblue website is kind of a rainbow mess right now because Pride, which I gleefully and happily do because I'm a big believer in Pride. I'm sorry if that ruffles your feathers. No, I'm not really. But yeah, hit me up on Facebook on either of those. Twitter, GALACTICblue1. No, it's GALACTICblue US, sorry. GALACTICblue US on Twitter. And, no, is it? I don't know if it is. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm kind of in the middle of, yeah. No, it is GALACTICblue1. Okay. So GALACTICblue1 on Twitter. GALACTICblue US is Facebook. Twitch, you obviously know where to find me if you're watching this at all. And YouTube, this should be uploaded anytime within the next 24 to 36 hours up on YouTube. My internet's been pretty fast as of late. The only thing that's going to be a drag or a hassle is going to be editing, especially if this thing was muted for the first half hour. But anyway, that's all the time we got for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to doing this again, hopefully with less technical issues tomorrow. So until then, guys, be well, stay safe, and have a very awesome Monday evening. I'm going to go get a throat lozenge because my throat is hurting. So I will talk to you guys later, okay? Have a good day.
On that, our presentation.